Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Florida Gators stormed back to win their third basketball national championship in program history. Also, what's next for Houston after they fall short of glory? And how much stock should we put into Shedeur Sanders Pro Day? This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
For the third time in program history, the Florida Gators are men's national champions, and for 59 minutes, it did not look like it was going to be the case. Brandon Olson from Locked On Gators has told us all season this is the FAFO team, and at some point they were going to find out. Now, Brandon, we find out that they are national champions. They never had to truly find out, despite all of the, let's say, messing around that they did over the course of the season, including in the national title game.
Yeah, I have to say, it is. I'm getting a bunch of people that are just like idiot because I kept saying like, oh, they keep doing things that are going to cause them to lose a game, and then that's gonna suck. But I will say, I told you so. If it happens, didn't happen. They won the national championship. I will also add this: when we started the bracket breakdown show, and I went on that show and I said, hey, the Florida Gators, best team in the country. Like they should be the 1 seed. They're the best team in the country. They won the conference, the SEC, which best conference ever. And Florida went and won it handedly with an average win margin of 15.5 points in the SEC tournament. They went to Auburn, the number 1 overall seed, and they beat Auburn in Auburn. They faced Auburn in the Final Four in a neutral site, and they beat Auburn again. And then they beat Houston in what was basically a home game for Houston. It was crazy. I did hate that the second half became a complete ref show. That was just criminal. Every one of them belongs in prison forever. But the Florida Gators are national champions, and we're going to celebrate that. And Todd Golden has a lot of work to do building a roster for next year. But hey, for now, we just celebrate.
Yeah, listen, you got a whole off season to talk about what Todd Golden is going to do next. Luckily for you, Todd Golden looks like he is the next star coach in college basketball. But let's start with this team here today, because Houston is the defense energy team, and in the second half, the Gators had to be that team. They stayed so connected on defense. It was loose balls, and I think fitting that this game ended on a loose ball. That Florida came up with the possession, because that was the way they had to scrap and claw and fight down 12 in the second half of this game.
Yeah, this team, I mean, they've never been the team to roll over and die. I mean, even in games they've lost. They lost the Georgia game late in the regular season. They were down 26 points on the road at one point, came back, took the lead with less than a minute left. And again, ultimately lost the game. But that kind of fight, that kind of grit, you can't replicate it. You can't fake it. You have to just have it. And Houston's a team that was always going to punch Florida in the mouth. They're smaller than Florida, but they fight harder than anybody in the country. And Florida had to adjust. Florida had to make some decisions. Florida had to fight and claw like a way that they've never done before. And I know that a lot of people went into that game thinking, oh, like Florida should destroy Houston. I don't know why anybody thought that, but that's what a lot of people were saying the day of the game. And Florida went in there and for most of the game was trailing. I mean, you look at the largest lead, and at one point Houston had a 12-point lead, like you mentioned, and Florida's largest lead of the game was the 2 points they won by. And that's it. That's their largest lead with the 2 points they won by. Which, by the way,
when they took the lead with around 45 seconds left, it was the first time since 8-6 they had the lead. And with 16:24 left in the second half, it was 42-30. And they ended with 65 points. I wanted to ask you about that, Brandon. So what changed? Because 35 points in the last 16 or so minutes of the game, they had to get in gear. How did they make that change offensively? Because yes, they got stops, but they had to get their offense going against the best defense in college basketball.
Yeah, early in the game when Florida did have that monumental 8-6 lead, it was a lot of Florida running in transition, getting the ball to the bigs down low and trying to get a quick shot. And they kind of went away from that when Houston said, all right, we are going to dictate the pace. We are going to slow things down, and we are going to attack. And Florida went, we'll play Houston ball. Florida's not good at playing Houston ball. Florida's good at playing Florida ball. And in the second half, Florida made adjustments, which Todd Golden has been maybe the best coach with making halftime adjustments in the entire country all season long. And Florida said, okay, when we run pick and roll, they double Walter Clayton Jr., who's the best player in the country. I don't care who wins any award. Walter Clayton Jr. is the best player in the country. And when they run pick and roll, Houston threw both guys at him, and they just said, screw the roller. In the second half, Florida started making those passes into the paint, getting the easy buckets, fighting, clawing, running in transition again. Florida went back to playing a bit of Florida ball. They removed the three-point shot for a large portion of the game because Houston was really focused on taking that away, especially when you have a big lead. You go ahead and take your twos. We'll take our twos, free throws, whatever it may be. And Florida made the adjustments they needed to and pulled it out. And it was just great. Alex Condon played, I think, the worst first half I've ever seen anyone play in basketball. And then second half, turned around, played great, got the buckets, was playing more decisive basketball, and was a key part to the Florida Gators for the third time ever winning a national championship.
Stay up to date all year on the Florida Gators by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Gators on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up. What happened to Houston as they fell short in the national title game? Before we get to that, the Chicago Cubs are cooking. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. The Chicago Cubs shut out the Texas Rangers in one of the coldest games in Wrigley Field history. The Cubs have now won 8 of their last 10.
Since coming back from Japan, if you take away the bullpen, the Chicago Cubs are playing flawless baseball. I'm Sam Olber from Locked On Cubs, and the Cubs put together another fantastic performance today, dominating the Texas Rangers. It was a really tough day to hit, but not for the Cubs. They ran the bases well, they played great defense, and Justin Steele returned to form and was excellent for 7 shutout innings. But for me, the real story of this game outside of Steele is that the Cubs continue to take advantage of pitcher-friendly conditions, running the bases well, playing small ball, 5 stolen bases today, clutch hitting, base hits, going the other way, all things that we did not see last year, and we really haven't seen from a Cubs team in a long time. So it's getting pretty fun at Wrigley Field, but hopefully they can figure out this bullpen, because at some point they're going to have to win some close games. Catch Locked On Cubs for everything you want to know about the Cubs and so much more. Stay hot.
Elsewhere in Major League Baseball, the Tigers took down the Yanks.
All right, let's go into Rodon's performance, because if you look at some of the numbers, right? So 6 innings, great. He pitched into the 7th, couldn't get an out in the 7th. They had to take him out, but at least he lasted that long, right? So that was good. 8 strikeouts, great. Only 3 walks, also great. But when you look at the walks, and then you look at the 6 runs, 5 earned, 4 hits, the 1 home run, and at first he had only given up 2 hits, and both of them accounted for all the runs that he had given up in the game, which was annoying. He got completely hosed on a no-strike call, and it led to the 3-run home run. But this is my issue. You're a grown man. Get annoyed, right? You have every right to get annoyed, but you need to calm yourself down, and you can't let things get out of hand. And he let things get out of hand, and that allowed that 3-run home run to happen. completely missed his spot on that pitch to Ibanez. He admitted it after the game. But you are expected to be this team's ace or 1A along with Max Fried. You can't let this happen.
And in the NBA, Zach LaVine and the Sacramento Kings stole a win from the Detroit Pistons.
Man, I hope the people of Detroit are in a bomb shelter somewhere, because Zach LaVine just went absolutely nuclear in Little Caesars Arena. It's pretty crazy that you can overshadow when your teammate DeMar DeRozan scores 37 points. It's pretty crazy when you can overshadow Cade Cunningham going for 30. It's pretty crazy when you can completely overshadow Domantas Sabonis going for a freaking triple-double. But that's what Zach LaVine did. He went on a 16-0 run by himself while the Sacramento Kings came back from down 18 on the third game in 4 nights to extend their win streak now to 3 straight games. Defensively, they hold the Pistons to just 45 points in the second half. Kings typically defensively don't get the job done, so don't let that be overshadowed by the incredible game that Zach LaVine had. In the last 2 days, Zach LaVine has now scored 80 total points. He went nuts, and it's coming at the right time for the Kings. They're 1 win away or 1 Phoenix Suns loss away from clinching a play-in spot, and it looks like there's a very good chance that they might host your Dallas Mavericks, Mr. Nick Angstead.
It is going to be a hard one for University of Houston fans to get over, to lose a national title game where your opponent leads for a minute total. But that's what we witnessed on Monday night. Parker Ainsworth from Locked On Cougs joins me now. And Parker, a double-digit lead in the second half for Houston. They make a late run after it looks like with about 5 minutes left that they are running out of gas. And yet on the final possession, they can't even get a shot off. What is going to be the number one top line takeaway here for you as to why they couldn't get this done?
It's going to take some time to look back and think about how special a season that was. Just because it was painful at the end there, right? So they finished 35-5, win the Big 12 by multiple games for the second year in a row. Incredible Final Four win over Duke. There's all kinds of reasons that in 10, 15 years to look back and think about that was a great season. But man, it's hard to think about that one positively after the offense stalled out so much in the second half. But that's the way it goes, right? 2 great teams played. You held Florida just 65 points. It's, I believe, from my pre-show prep, only the second time they've been held under 70 all season. Yeah. And defense was the name of this team all year long. Couldn't find a way to score at the end. Couldn't find a way to get shot off at the end. Drew up a set that was a split second away from popping something pretty cool, and instead you didn't. That's where we're at. That's where we're at.
Listen, I understand. We are recording this, moments after the game ended. So understanding this is everyone is processing this right now. If I told you before the game that Walter Clayton Jr. was going to shoot 3 of 10, have 11 points, and this Florida backcourt was going to shoot 5 of 20, I have to imagine you would have thought that Houston would have won this game.
Yeah, I really thought that it was going to take a pretty stellar Walter Clayton Jr. performance to put Houston away. Cooper Flagg almost did that in the previous round, right? Sometimes you just have tremendous one-on-one future NBA basketball players. Truthfully, it was Will Richard kid who, he's a good shooter. He's a good basketball player. But he carried them in the first half. He finished with 18, but he had 14 of the 28 in the first half to even make this thing a game. And I don't mean to say that Houston just forgot about him or anything like that, but Houston is so focused on so many pieces. At some point, there's just so many holes to plug in the dam, right? And Houston held them to 65. I don't mean to make it like the Houston defense let up a bunch of points, but ultimately – they could have used a few less, right? So
for this Houston program, though, what Calvin Sampson has done since he arrived is remarkable. He has elevated them to a status that they have not been in a long time. Help me try and put some of this into perspective, understanding that this loss stings, no question, but that Duke game is an all-time program win. This is an all-time program run still, even with the disappointment here.
Yeah, I mean, so he takes over Houston back, what was it, 11 years ago now, and this is their second Final Four, and was it 4 years, 5 years? They've been to 6 straight Sweet 16s, and they, again, it's a tremendous program, and a lot of positives come out of it, obviously, and they're not done. I don't mean to say that to try and be optimistic at a moment where it's kind of hard to be. They've got a couple McDonald's All-Americans coming in, best player in the state of Texas or Gatorade Player of the Year, whatever, in Texas coming in. They've got talent coming in a way that they haven't really. This has been built on a lot of 3-star guys and development and stuff like that. And now you get to see what that looks like with some high-end talent. Doesn't mean this doesn't sting a lot. This is kind of going to be the welcoming to the nation in a lot of ways. For Sampson and his program, he's been chasing this thing for a long time, Pete. He was Oklahoma and Washington State and a brief stint in Indiana. He's been chasing this one for a while, and that's as close as he's been. And that's I think the part that stings is, as great as it's been in building this, that's as close as it's been. So
it does feel. I mean, we're talking about really a lifer in college basketball as a coach. But he's 69. He's going to be 70 in October. Is there any concern that this is just going to end for him, and they're going to have to find their Todd Golden without Kelvin Sampson getting a chance to pay this off?
I don't know how soon that happens. I do think that he's certainly, if I'm as spry as he is at 70, I'll be really happy about it.
He's the Pete Carroll of college basketball in that way, right? Like he still has whatever workout routine, whatever morning routine he's got, I want it.
And as far as what comes next after Kelvin, he's been grooming and shaping his son, Kellen, who played from Oklahoma, to be the next head coach. Kellen coaches the big men, the forwards and centers at practice. Kellen's at the top of a lot of the recruiting. And Kellen, frankly, gets the scout in a lot of games. So in like these tight turnarounds where you hand off assistant coaches to scout the second game and stuff like that, Kellen's been working for this for a while. And so I'm not saying there won't be an adjustment period, but people hope that the family business stays in the family and the success continues as far as that goes. I really feel more like this was just, a lot of players on this team. And I know I'm going long here, but like Juwan Roberts been there 6 years. Emmanuel Sharp's a 3rd-year guy. Javier Francis, a 5-year guy. You got guys that have been on this team and program for a while now. And it was it's going to look different. And I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but it's going to look different. I think that's part of the pain, is like it would have been nice for it to look like this. Right. And so that's, I think, part of it.
Stay up to date all year on the Houston Cougars by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Cougs on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, does Shedeur Sanders Pro Day performance matter? Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders recently participated in the Buffs Pro Day, and NFL media seemed divided on his performance. Locked On NFL host Tyler Rowland and Louis DiBiase discussed whether or not Sanders' performance matters at all.
The arm strength, yeah, I think it's limited. It's good at best. It's not great, but we knew that. That's what the tape showed us already. So that's what I always say about pro days and combines. I don't really read too much into them. They're meant to confirm things or make you raise questions that you then go back to the tape and answer through the tape. So I'm not coming to any conclusions through the pro day. That was pretty much exactly what I thought of him as a prospect. I think he's a good, not great guy. That's a mid-first round player. In a weaker class, he's going to be higher than that, but I don't know. That pro day didn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think the conversation comes down to what your initial read on Shedeur Sanders is, because for me, the things like you said, the arm wasn't incredible. We know that the arm talent and the velocity that he throws with isn't quite the level of some other guys, but there are players in the NFL that win without high-level velocity. Joe Burrow, Brock Purdy, I don't think has an incredible arm. So there are guys that can win, and you can, and he shows things on tape that would allow him to win without maybe having the strongest arm. I always say that these pro days and stuff, like you're saying, it's confirmation, not creation. Like, I'm not creating my opinion of the player based on what's happening, but I agree with you. I don't think he showed anything that's like, oh, I didn't, maybe I underestimated. No, the arm looked the way that I expected. And I think that could lead to him not being drafted in the top 3 ultimately, because like you're talking about, I think he is a mid first player. And while I do think the quarterbacks get bumped up some, I think some of the limitations that he brings to the table is going to, along with, you have to acknowledge, it doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. I love the entertainment aspect of pro sports, but you do get his father, the media attention with that. Some teams may not like that. So I think that it kind of limits the athletic limitations, and then the family aspect of it and the media attention that you get will limit. So it could lead to a bit of a slide in the draft. I don't think that he goes top 3 at this stage now.
There is something about watching a quarterback throw live in person. The scouts went to Colorado. I don't know how many scouts went to Jackson State before that, but we've seen Shedeur Sanders. Now coaches, GMs get to see him up close. It's more about the vibe, the aura. I know that seems like a Zoomer word. NFL teams care about that stuff. They know what he looks like throwing the ball. And he showed a bigger arm than he's been given credit for. He can't show the things that they have questions about, though. The ability to climb the pocket and make throws. The ability to look athletic and make plays on the run. Make plays with your feet. You can't see that in shells. Not even helmets. So he didn't answer any questions that anyone had already, probably. But if someone loved him because they love the swagger and the leadership and the experience and the bloodlines, well, all of that is on display at the Pro Day. It's a chance to confirm your priors. But let's just think about how far the Sanders family has come. Deion becoming a head college coach could have been dismissed as a lark, as a PR opportunity. But he built a program for real. And then he took that to Colorado and got real talent. Shedeur Sanders is real talent. It just so happens it's his son. He's going to be an NFL quarterback. Travis Hunter is going to be a top 3 pick. Shedeur Sanders might be 2. What Deion has accomplished, I understand he hasn't won a bunch of games at the Power 5 level yet. I just want us to understand and appreciate what he's done so far. And finally, Chris Jenkins, you may recall, the man who buried one of the most iconic shots in NCAA history, is now aiming for something else: compensation. The former Villanova star, whose 2016 title-winning buzzer beater will forever live on NCAA highlight reels, has filed a lawsuit against the NCAA and 6 major conferences. Jenkins says he was blocked from making money off his name, image, and likeness while in school, even as his shot helps bring in millions for both the NCAA and Villanova. His case is separate from the $2.8 billion House versus NCAA settlement, and he calls it one of one. That might be true. Plus, not many people can say their jump shot sparked a $22 million donation. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, can the Atlanta Braves get out of their early slump? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.